Welcome to the Academic Scheduling Basics training. Completion of this training satisfies the security requirement for scheduling access within MyUNLV. Once you have completed this video, please complete and submit the Schedule Basics quiz located above this video on the Tutorials and Trainings page of the Registrar website. Please note, if you do not score at least 70% on the quiz, you must resubmit with a higher score. There are two levels of security setups that go into MyUNLV. The page security gives you access to a page with either view or update access. It makes the page available on the left-hand navigation bar. If you do not see the navigation, that means you do not have the page access. The row level security gives you access to data on the page. It allows a security team to control who has access to different parts of the system. For scheduling, the row level security is what determines which courses you can see and manipulate in MyUNLV. So if you are scheduling for the English department but you're unable to see the English classes, there is a problem with your row level security. When we're discussing the catalog versus the schedule, there are a few things to keep in mind. The catalog contains the rules for a course. It tells you whether the course has a lab, how many credits it's worth. These items are permanent and can only be changed by going through the curriculum committees. The schedule describes how the course will look from semester to semester. It says when it will meet, who will be teaching it, and how many students will be able to enroll. This information can change from semester to semester by changing the way that you build your schedule. There are two types of scheduling, academic and event scheduling. Academic scheduling refers to the courses that are offered during the semester and the classrooms that they are offered in. Event scheduling is referring to all other room needs during the semester. This can include special one-day lab needs, meetings, test makeups, review sessions. If you need to schedule an event, fill out the event request form on the scheduling section of the web page. Please note, all summer term scheduling is handled by the summer term office. The term code is the 4-digit number that is assigned to each semester. The first digit refers to the century, so for our purposes, all of the term codes will begin with a 2. The middle 2 digits are the year, and the last digit is the semester. We use a 2 for spring, a 5 for summer, and an 8 for fall. I've included some examples on the slide. Academic scheduling will only schedule classes in general purpose rooms. All general purpose rooms are tech rooms or smart rooms. They all have a computer and a projector for the faculty. Pay close attention to the types of rooms with regard to your cap. A tech room will have up to 64 seats, but our smallest auditorium has 146. So if your cap is between the two, we would have to schedule it in the larger space. For example, if your cap is at 75, we would have to put it in an auditorium and essentially waste half of the seats. Departmentally owned space is space on campus that a department has control over to schedule their classes. This space is usually specialized in some way. We will not place any courses in these rooms unless specifically asked by the controlling department. Priority space is campus space that a department has priority to schedule. However, if it is not claimed during the open build period, the room is released for general use. If you're placing a class in these rooms, they must be offered during standard class times and you must be utilizing at least 75% of the seats. After the open build period, the room will be opened up for general use and the registrar's office may fill the space with other classes. There is an ongoing review of departmentally owned and priority space, which is conducted each academic year by the provost and the registrar's offices. We review the space and seat utilization. If the space is not well utilized, the department may lose control. Here are a few guidelines to keep in mind when you're building your classes. Please be aware of peak times from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. This time period is very popular for classes at UNLV, and we often run out of space and may ask you to move your classes outside of these times. The scheduling distribution goals are listed on our website, and we encourage you to view those every semester. Meeting these goals ensures that your classes are spread throughout the day, thus making it easier for us to place them into classrooms. The registrar's office uses enrollment-based optimization. This means we do not assign classrooms to courses until they have met 80% of their enrollment cap. This ensures each seat on campus is well utilized. We rely on you to use your historical enrollment data to make realistic caps so that you can make sure your classes get placed effectively. Now we will review the scheduling production cycle. When the schedule opens, departments can begin manipulating the schedule. For the spring 2019 term, this period began on February 19th and will end on June 15th. The open build is the time to make all necessary changes to your schedule. Then the schedule will close for the first time, and the scheduling team will begin their cleanup. For the spring, this will go until June 29th. The scheduling unit will be looking for errors in the schedule. For example, classes that begin at 1 a.m. or classes whose caps are still set at 0. Then we will send a list of any errors that they find to each department. Once we've sent the list of errors, we will reopen the schedule. For the spring 2019, this will happen on July 2nd. It will remain open for 2 weeks. This is when you should be fixing any errors that the scheduling team found and emailed to you. This is not the time to begin building your schedule from scratch. Then the schedule will close once again, and the scheduling team will do a final review. During this review, we are making sure that the courses are ready for students to enroll in them. This is also when we need to know if you will have any of the following. We're looking for back-to-back instruction, mirrored classes, and special accommodations. We will also do some initial room placement based upon these requests. Anytime you have an instructor teaching back-to-back classes, we'll try to place both courses in the same classroom. We need to know that these courses are being taught back-to-back before we start assigning rooms for courses. Please also let us know if there are any back-to-back courses with large enrollment cap differences. We'll place courses with large enrollment gaps close together so that we can ensure the best utilization of the seats in each room, but they may not be in the same room. Our scheduling software will automatically place courses taught back-to-back in the same room, but only if the information is entered accurately in MyUNLV, specifically the instructor information for the class. If the correct course and instructor information is not entered, then our scheduling software does not know to place the classes in the same room. If you have classes that meet once per week, for example, one course that meets on a Monday and another completely different course that meets on a Wednesday, we bind them together so that we can have a complete meeting pattern. This prevents there from being holes in the schedule. There are 2 types of special accommodations. Medical accommodations, meaning the instructor has some kind of mobility need, or teaching accommodations, meaning you need a computer lab or some sort of special equipment in the room. These are not for convenience or preference purposes. You must submit your special accommodation request to us via email, and you can review the guidelines for special accommodations on our website. Please tell us as soon as possible so that we can make sure that your classes are put in the right places. Once this has all been completed, the schedule will go live, which means students will be able to see the schedule and search for their potential classes. Once enrollment begins, we will begin the EBO. This is enrollment-based optimization, and it runs once a class has reached 80% of the enrollment for its cap. Shortly before the start of the term, we'll stop the EBO and place any remaining courses manually. 1 week before the term begins, the schedule will be finalized and we send the information back to the departments to make sure that everything is where it should be. For example, courses that need computer labs are scheduled in computer labs, back-to-back classes are placed back-to-back, etc. This is the last chance to change your room assignments. Once registration begins, we are very limited as to what changes we can make if students are enrolled in a class. We can only take minor changes. Major changes are fundamental changes to how the class is taught. For example, the number of credits, mode of instruction, meeting pattern, and topic are all considered major changes and must be done prior to the beginning of registration. If students are enrolled in classes and you need to make these kind of changes, we would have to cancel and rebuild the course. Once the schedule closes, the easiest way to communicate with us is via email. Always include as much information about the course as possible. The title of the class can be very helpful. If you don't know who to include on the email, they are all listed on the contact sheet, which is on the scheduling website. I will show this website to you at the end of the training. Once the semester begins, you are limited even further as to what kind of changes can be made. There are 2 changes that you can always make. You can add or change instructor information until the course ends. You can also add or change notes. This is useful if your section is strange in some way. Now we will log in to the test environment of MyUNLV for a demonstration. Before we begin the demonstration, I'd like to point out some resources that can be found on our website at unlv.edu/registrar/scheduling. Once here, if you click on the academic scheduling website, you will find easy guides for helping you build your classes, the scheduling distribution guidelines that we mentioned earlier, additional online training classes, terms and definitions, a breakdown of all of the standard class times, your department scheduling contacts list, and a list of all general purpose classrooms. This spreadsheet also contains a list of the courses that you may have priority access to. When you're ready to work on your schedule, you'll log in to MyUNLV and navigate from the main menu to Curriculum Management, Schedule of Classes. The Registrar's Office rolls classes from fall to fall, spring to spring, and summer to summer. If you are creating a brand new class or it was not offered in the previous term, you go to Schedule New Course. If you are working on the schedule that was rolled, you'll click on Maintain Schedule of Classes. You'll enter the term in the search criteria as well as the subject area and catalog number for your class. You can also use the magnifying glass to look these up if you are unsure. You'll notice some of the information is pre-populated based upon what rolled over. If you're adding a new section, navigate to the very last page and click the plus sign. The first thing you need to enter is the session. The regular session and the mid-semester will automatically populate the start and end dates. Modular classes, you'll need to manipulate those manually. You can adjust the start and end dates for modular classes here. Your class section must be sequential. Please keep in mind that canceled sections and tentative sections from the previous term will not roll over when we roll the schedule. You will need to make sure that all of your class sections are sequential. Since this is the 5th section, the class section will be 1005. My associated class should always match the second half of the section without any leading zeros. In this case, it will be a number 5. If this class section was 1010, my associated class would be a 10. If you're building a class that has a lecture and a lab or a lecture and a discussion component, the associated class may not match the class section. You'll need to attend the advanced scheduling training in order to get more information about those types of classes. When considering the location, you will only need to change this if your course is web-based or offered off-campus. You can see the options that are listed here, so you should only use the ones that are appropriate for your type of class. In most cases, if your class is offered on the UNLV main campus, you will not need to change this. The rest of the information is automatically populated and you'll only need to change a few things. The instruction mode will default to the letter P for in-person. This instruction mode is not in use and should be changed to EN for in-person with supplemental web for most on-campus classes. EN ensures that there is a web campus or a Canvas component so that the instructor can post a syllabus online and students can submit assignments if necessary. You can see a full list of the different instruction modes by clicking the magnifying glass to look up, and you'll see an explanation of those when we return to the PowerPoint presentation. The box for the schedule print determines whether or not the student will be able to see this course when they look in the schedule. Please keep in mind that unchecking this box will only hide the class from the student. Instructors and other users on campus, such as advisors or other staff members, will still be able to see the class with a note that the section is not shown to students. If your course has a special topic, you can add it here by clicking on the magnifying glass to look it up. If the topic that you're looking for is not listed, you'll need to contact curriculum@unlv.edu to have that course added. You won't need to touch your class attributes unless your class is a web-based or hybrid class, more information about which is in the advanced scheduling training, which you'll need to attend if you're building these types of classes. The next tab is the Meetings tab. This gives information about when and where the class is going to be taught. The facility ID is where you're going to enter information if you are scheduling a class in any department-owned space or if the space is priority scheduled. Remember, if you have priority scheduled space, it must be scheduled during the open build period. You can click the magnifying glass to look up and narrow your searches by entering the building or room number that you're looking for. Please pay attention if you're using a facility ID to the capacity of the room. If your enrollment cap exceeds the room capacity, that room will be removed from the course. You can use the meeting pattern to look up the preset meeting patterns. Please use these whenever possible as they will automatically calculate the start and end times for your class to ensure the correct number of contact hours. You'll select the pattern and enter the start time for your class and tab to automatically fill in the end time. Remember, if you're building a modular class, you'll need to update the start and end dates for the course to match on what's on the Basic Data tab. Please do not enter anything in the topic ID or free format topic. In the instructor section, you'll select the NSHE ID number for the instructor that is teaching the class. If you click the magnifying glass, you'll be able to narrow your results by first and last name of the instructor. You can select your instructor's role from the drop-down menu. You can add additional instructors or administrative assistants if you want other people to be able to see the roster for the class. Please note at least one instructor must have the print box checked, meaning that instructor's name will be displayed to the students when they search the schedule, and at least one instructor listed must have approved access. If the instructor should only have grade access, that will allow them to enter grades on their grade roster. However, they will not be able to submit those grades to have them posted to the student's account. If your class is in a departmentally arranged space, you'll need to add the room characteristic indicating such. Adding the room characteristic indicating that the room is or the class is being taught in departmentally arranged space will prevent our scheduling software from trying to put the class in another room. You may also use the room characteristic to indicate that your class needs to be taught in a computer lab. If you do not add this characteristic and your class needs a computer lab, you run the risk of your class getting scheduled in the wrong place, and you also run the risk of us running out of computer labs by the time we get it fixed. The Enrollment Control tab is where you determine how many students can add your class. Please note that your enrollment capacity cannot exceed your requested room capacity, and your enrollment capacity cannot exceed the capacity of the room if you have already placed the class in your departmentally owned space. The waitlist capacity will automatically be populated based upon the size of your class. This is also where you can add consent. You can determine if a student needs to have department or instructor consent in order to add the class. Please note, if you add consent, students will not be able to enroll unless you've gone into the permissions page in MyUNLV and granted them specific permissions. The Notes tab is where you can add additional information for your classes. You can have automatically populated notes by using the lookup and select from a list of existing notes here, or you can type free-form text. Please note, if you are doing both or adding multiple notes, you'll need to add a row for each individual note. Don't forget to save when you've completed working on your class. The Exam tab is where we will enter final exam information once we build the exam tables, so when you're building your classes, you don't have to worry about entering anything here. Now we will return to the presentation for a few reminders. Now, we will review a few special considerations for building your schedule. Remember, if your class meets in person, you should be using EN as the instruction mode. When you create a new section or when the schedule rolls, you may see a P for in-person instruction mode. This instruction mode should not be in use, and you'll need to change it to EN. If your class meets in person but does not fall within the standard meeting pattern, you may be using VM for an in-person variable meeting pattern class. An example of this is a music lesson where one instructor may have 5 students who all schedule lessons at different times. If your class meets half online and half in person on a weekly basis, you may be using a hybrid. UNLV narrowly defines a hybrid course as one that has a standard meeting pattern, only half of which is on campus. This allows us to utilize the other half of the pattern similar to the way we do with mirrored courses. If your class meets primarily online with on-campus meetings for presentations or proctored exams, or the on-campus meetings do not fall within the standard meeting pattern, use WM for the instruction mode. If you're unsure of which instruction mode to use, please email scheduling@unlv.edu. If you can recall, this is one of the things that we cannot change without canceling the class once registration has begun and the class has enrollment. Combined sections are used for courses that are being taught at the same time in the same place by the same professor. For example, if a course is being offered to undergraduates and graduate students, or two subjects being taught at the same time, like sociology and psychology. To create these sections, you'll build each section separately and then email scheduling the information for both courses so that we can combine them. The sections must match exactly. They must have the same instructors with the same access and the same meeting pattern. The only things that can be different are the caps and the section numbers. When we roll over the schedule, the individual sections will roll, but we'll have to recombine them, so you'll have to notify us each semester. When entering your meeting patterns, whenever possible, use the lookup so that the start and end times will automatically fill to ensure the correct number of contact hours. You can click the magnifying glass for options and enter your start time. The rest of the fields will automatically populate. Special topics courses must have their special topic listed on the Basic Data tab. If the correct special topic is not on your list, you'll need to contact curriculum@unlv.edu to have a new topic added. If you have questions, you can always email scheduling@unlv.edu or visit the scheduling website. You can also request on-demand training for any of the scheduling topics by contacting us via email. You are now getting access to the schedule, so please email scheduling to let us know which department so that we can update the contact list. Once the video concludes, you'll complete the 15-question quiz and submit your results. We will then move your name forward to grant your access to MyUNLV, and you'll be notified via email once that has been completed. Thank you.